In 1996, Pepsi launched a promotion where they jokingly told the public that the winner would win the grand prize of a jet fighter, a $33 million US military jet fighter. While most people would brush this off as a marketing ploy, two American men were determined to snag the aircraft. Welcome back to Curiosity, and today we'll be talking about the bizarre case of Leonard v. Pepsi. Who were these two men? Did they really sue Pepsi? Did they actually win the jet fighter? We're talking about all that and more, so stay tuned. In the mid-90s, Pepsi had stiff competition with Coca-Cola. In order to draw younger consumers into buying more Pepsi, they needed a cool ad campaign, something that really stood out from their competitors. The result was the largest ad campaign in the company's history at that point. In 1996, the Pepsi Stuff promo campaign was launched, where Pepsi drinkers could collect Pepsi points with each purchase of the soft drink. If you collected enough points, you could win free merchandise like t-shirts and jackets. But the ad implied something much different, something much bigger. One of these commercials featured a computer-generated AV-8 Harrier II. This was a US military jet fighter. The commercial went on to say that if a Pepsi drinker collected 7 million points, the jet was theirs to keep. Sure, most of us would laugh and forget about it a minute later. But two men in Alaska saw something different. An opportunity. This is where John Leonard and Todd Hoffman came in. John and Todd met on Mount Denali in Alaska, where John was working as a junior climbing instructor. While Todd was 20 years older than John, the two became friends almost instantly. One day in '96, John saw a rather peculiar Pepsi ad on TV. The commercial showed a Harrier fighter jet, with captions saying that you could win it by collecting 7 million points. After John showed Todd the ad, the two came up with an idea. Thinking they could swindle Pepsi into actually giving them the plane, the two brainstormed ways to tackle the soft drink giant. The two friends came up with a business plan. Todd Hoffman had a business background, but up to that point had been unsuccessful with his endeavors. Young John would often pitch business ideas to his friend. In order for Todd to go through with it, he needed to make sure John had a foolproof plan. After all, they were taking on a multi-billion-dollar company. As you can imagine, there were a lot of holes in John's initial execution. His calculations showed that they would need to spend around $4.3 million to collect the 7 million points. This wasn't exactly something Todd was on board for, so they decided to go another route. John soon realized that they could just buy the Pepsi points at 10 cents each. While the cost of $700,000 was still a ton of money, Todd saw this as feasible. The two of them flew from Alaska down to Minnesota to meet with a lawyer. From here, they sent Pepsi a check for $700,000. Little did they know, they were in for a shock. Pepsi contacted the two partners stating that the commercial was only a joke. The company was not actually giving away a $33 million fighter jet. It looked like the jig was up for John and Todd until they pointed out that the ad contained no disclaimer showing that it was a joke. This technically meant that the commercial was false advertising. Pepsi continued to insist that the commercial was meant for humor and that no fraud took place. This wasn't enough to convince John and Todd. Not long after, the pair decided to file a claim. After several meetings between the two parties, there were talks of a settlement. Todd suggested to John that they should take whatever's offered to them. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal given the fact that they made it this far. There was just one problem. John Leonard really wanted that fighter jet. While both John Leonard and Todd Hoffman were involved in the initial business move, John seemed to take this personally. He wanted the Harrier at all costs. Some people just have too much pride. Due to his stubbornness, all settlement talks came to a screeching halt. His motivation grew after a suspicious move by Pepsi caught his eye. Pepsi released another commercial featuring the Harrier jet. The ad said that you now needed to collect 700 million points and the fighter jet was yours. In addition, a message in brackets reading, "Just kidding," appeared underneath. This fired John up, as it now looked to him like an admission of guilt on Pepsi's end. A legal claim was filed in Florida, citing both breach of contract and fraud. The claim soon moved to New York. The case was named Leonard versus PepsiCo. While the ruling seemed to be in Pepsi's favor, John wouldn't let up. He felt the judge was incapable of making the ruling by themselves, and felt the decision should be left in the hands of a jury composed of the so-called Pepsi generation. The Pepsi generation refers to the specific demographic of Pepsi consumers. These are the people that Pepsi targets their ads towards. John must have felt that this jury would be more likely to understand his case. Unfortunately, John's claim was denied by the court. In 2000, a ruling was finally made in Pepsi's favor. Judge Kimber Wood rejected the claim on 3 grounds. Number 1 was that the commercial did not constitute an offer. Number 2 was that even if the ad was an official offer, no reasonable person would believe they were going to win an actual military jet fighter. The third was that in order for the commercial to constitute fraud, a written contract had to be drawn out and agreed upon by both parties, which did not happen. Once the case was done, the US Pentagon stated that the Harrier jet would not be available to the public unless it was demilitarized. So what happened to John and Todd? Losing a claim like that to Pepsi is enough to humble anyone. After the case was lost, John moved back to Alaska, where he took up work as a park ranger. As for Todd, well, several of his business endeavors have actually succeeded. Over the years, Todd has invested in real estate, restaurants, and publishing. While things have looked good on the business end, Todd has had several health issues since the 1990s. He was diagnosed with cancer for the second time in 2021. Despite the state of his health, Todd continues to climb mountains with his friend John, with whom he remains close to this day. It's too bad they don't have that fancy jet. They'd make it to the top a lot quicker. The world is full of fascinating stories and people. Care to learn more? Let's keep your curiosity going with a couple more videos, shall we? Here's what you need to know. Check out The Hypnotist That Could See the Future. Or how about the woman who had her tongue removed and remade from her own leg? Go ahead, click one, or better yet, watch both, and learn more about the wild and strange people of the world. What's the most you've won from a promo? Let us know in the comments below.